I'm Gray Thompson. You're listening to The Gray Zone. It's Rivalry Week. Will Muschamp, Gus Malzahn, I am your father.
The Gray Zone.
My guest this week is none other than one of my favorite Notre Dame football fans, Chad Filchak.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Is it?
It is.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
We'll get to Notre Dame in a minute.
Sure.
We'll let the hate flow through you in the meantime. We are brought to you by iONGreenville.net, the iONGreenville.net app. Go get it to find out what to do, where to go in and around the upstate, especially here this weekend for Thanksgiving weekend and Rivalry Week. I know probably y'all don't need any help finding things to do on Saturday because I'm staying indoors all day long. But the rest of the time, there's plenty of stuff to do. Go get the app. Also brought to you by FET Greenville. FET Greenville Magazine. Go to FETGreenville.com. Everything we do is free. We do FET Greenville TV every week to tell you where to go and what to see in the upstate of South Carolina. Plenty of good fun editorials. Jay Spivey, one of my favorite people in the world. The last word is always essential reading. It's all free. It's all good. Go to FETGreenville.com right now. And the salubrious, salacious Sit and Spin studios here at GVL Media in downtown Greenville. This is our first time recording in the new podcast room, which I'm really excited about. Thank you for doing this, Chad. Now I won't forget it, like it or not. But we're really glad to be here. If you like this podcast but want to do one that's even better, it's not that hard to do. Give me a call. Hit me up on Twitter at Color of Gray. That's Grey, or Instagram at Color of Gray Studio, or gvlmedia.online. We can help you do whatever you want to do, including call-ins, video, green screen, you name it, we got it. Speaking of we got it, we got Chad here. Chad.
Hello.
Thank you. And go Irish.
Go Irish, and you're more than welcome.
So since it's Rivalry Week, and I already said go Irish, a lot of people are already triggered. In spite of the fact that Notre Dame isn't really a rival around here, Notre Dame to me is the quintessential nationwide rival, right? Everybody wants to beat Notre Dame. Nobody really likes to see Notre Dame win except me and you, right?
Very true, yeah.
And for 4 of the next 5 years, that's probably Clemson's biggest marquee matchup on the schedule. I think in 6 years we got Georgia. In 2 years, you know what, I won't even go there, but we don't have Notre Dame in 2021, and that's okay. I'm really excited about it. I don't consider Notre Dame a rival of Clemson.
No, absolutely not.
Well, a lot of people around here just don't like Notre Dame. I'm sure you're used to that. Notre Dame, one of the most hated teams in the country.
We're like the Dallas Cowboys of the college football world.
Don't say that. It might be accurate. Don't say it. You are America's team, right? They say that about the Cowboys, and people can't stand it. If you say it about Notre Dame, they can't stand it either.
Very true.
I think y'all, and I know this triggers people too. I have to be real careful, but screw it. It's my podcast. Notre Dame has the most travel miles of any team in the country, it seems. Like I say in the country, y'all literally travel outside of the country to play football games. Did you see them? The team wasn't there, but they were in Ireland again with fans watching the game last weekend, which must have been early over there.
Yeah, I bet it was.
I loved the game when they went to Ireland a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they had that guy who was football, whatever you want to call it. But he was a soccer commentator, and he was confused by the fact that the Big Ten has 12 teams. The Big 12 has 10 teams. And these are universities, y'all? This isn't even math. This is just counting.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of fun, yeah.
Get a little bit closer to that. You grew up in Indiana, correct?
I did, yes.
What was that like?
Very cold. Very cold. I actually grew up right outside of the university. I grew up in Mishawaka, which is basically a suburb of South Bend, and of course the university's in South Bend.
I've never heard of Mishawaka.
Yeah, it's kind of like
plenty of time in your state, but
it's kind of like Greenville. It's kind of like Malden is to Greenville. So basically, Mishawaka is to South Bend, and then right before actually we moved down here, I moved to a smaller little city, Granger, which is the other side, which was even closer to the university. It was only about 5-10 minutes away. And actually, our neighbor that lived down the street was actually Lou Holtz. So we lived in the same neighborhood.
No way.
Yep. You see him going to practice on Sunday mornings and all that. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did you really? Did you see him mowing the lawn and trimming the hedges or anything?
Well, he was like a cul-de-sac over, so and I was like 14. I mean, I wasn't huge into football then, so it's not like I went and like stalked his house, but like, oh, Mr. Holtz, can I have Coach Holtz can I have an autograph or anything?
I'm sure plenty of people there did kind of though, right?
Yeah,
I've always been curious about that because anytime a coach gets fired or has to move or transfers, whatever, you see their house go up for sale and it's like a national story
oh yeah,
because people know where their houses are,
right.
right? And
That's
Notre
true.
Dame has a pretty allegiant fan base, and it's not like a weird part of the world, right? It's kind of accessible around there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've always been curious about who does anything for these coaches' houses and what it's like.
yeah.
I don't think they try to keep it a secret, for example. You know what I mean?
Not really. And, and plus, in Holtz's defense, the whole time he was there, we were pretty much just winning, so it's not like anyone was going to bother him.
Was he the coach when y'all won the title in '88?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said.
And you said you were how old?
In 88, I was like 11, something like that.
You were a fan then, right?
Yeah, just kind of watching, kind of a casual fan. Like my dad was obviously a huge fan. I really didn't start, I wouldn't really become a, diehard fan until I was probably like middle school, high school.
Oh, so recently?
Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. It's very kind of you. Yes.
Who is your rival? Because I know you're playing Stanford this weekend. Is that your
Yeah.
rival? I mean, your biggest rival.
This is where there's going to be some discourse with a lot of other Notre Dame fans.
I get it
because
because you have a lot of rivals.
We do, and a lot of people just pinpoint to Michigan. They hate Michigan, and I don't like them either. Don't get me wrong, but we don't play them all the time, so I don't really consider them a rival. Probably the biggest rival would be like Southern Cal.
It's Southern Cal.
Yeah,
It is.
and then Stanford's Stanford's up there. And as far as like teams that I play every year that I really kind of can't stand, it's probably really more Stanford than it is Southern Cal because.
Really?
Well, Stanford's beaten us a lot more than Southern Cal is. I'm kind of happy about saying that. Than
You mean very recently?
like very recently,
Okay.
as in like the past 4 or 5 years, it'd be the last game of the year, and we were like poised to like just get this win. We're going to go to a major bowl game, or we might still be in the playoffs, and we go to Stanford, and the people, I was going to say bastards,
You
but
can
I'll just
say
say
it.
bastard. And those bastards break our heart, and like. One
It's
year,
rivalry week.
Yeah,
Chad, let it out.
I hate them. I mean, it's just I really can't stand.
You know what I can't stand is having to say rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't have a good pronunciation of my R's in general, and it's just kind of a middle. I wish we had a better name for it, but
I
there
know.
is no better name for it. In fact,
No.
I almost named this podcast The Rivalry, which I'm honestly surprised wasn't already in use.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if anybody out there wants to create a college football podcast, go grab that name right now in the domain.
There you go. Yeah,
It
exactly.
just didn't fit the way I kind of celebrate the sport. You know me, I kind of celebrate it nationwide. But
Right.
okay, for example, Notre Dame to SoCal, man, if your rival is 3 time zones away, that's tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think around here we kind of take for granted how accessible football is.
Right.
Clemson and South Carolina, that's a rivalry in the same state. You
Right.
can ride a bicycle there.
Yeah,
If you're in shape, I can't do it. But
I mean, I couldn't either, but it might take me 2 days, but I could do it
Yeah, you could
because I'm
do
in
it.
shape. But yeah,
Right.
No, but yeah, they're so close, and same with same with Alabama Auburn, for instance,
Yep.
or Georgia Tech. I mean, they're a couple hours away, and that's it.
Georgia's a good one. You said Georgia Tech. You're not supposed to say that on rivalry week. It's just Tech.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
You got to have respect for Tech.
I will try to keep. that
But
in
Georgia's another, kind of like Notre Dame, where they think everybody is their rival. You know what I mean? And Alabama is everybody's rival, it seems like, who they play, which is good. And I think that's going to start happening more for Clemson, too, especially once some of these teams become more competitive. You know,
Yeah.
things like taking bye weeks and making a big deal about it, game day, that sort of thing. But Notre Dame is that quintessential rivalry team that everybody kind of wants to see lose unless you're a fan.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's very accurate. And I kind of felt your pain this season, where you've said it for years. Like, man, all these teams taking bye weeks right before the Alabama game.
Oh.
We had 8 teams take a bye week before they played us this year.
Okay, I thought 7 was it was the new record. I say record. It used to be 8 that was allowed, right? They changed the rule to 7 because 8 kept happening to Alabama, and then the story became Alabama's changed the rules in their favor. I'm like, really? They're still playing 7 teams coming off of bye weeks, right?
Right.
And now it's, 5 or 6 plus teams coming off of cupcakes, which isn't the same thing, but it's kind of close.
Pretty close, right?
I'd argue playing a cupcake is sometimes more beneficial than a bye.
Yeah.
But I think for the elite teams, it doesn't matter anyway. Don't forget, this year is really, really weird. Every team had at least 2 bye weeks.
Right, which is why I think why that happened more, and they could probably get away with it.
Miami-
It could just be 7, but I think it was 8. But as far as
It could
Notre
be.
Dame-
With this year, it's really, really weird, so I'm not going to worry about it. But
Right.
it's let's say it's 6. Let's round down and say 5. It's still a lot.
Yeah.
And it's deliberate, and there's a reason for it.
Oh, yeah.
I celebrate that stuff. I think it's good. You don't have to love it as a fan.
No.
But yeah, absolutely. People do treat. It's funny that a lot of the narrative is we don't like to treat blue bloods differently. Like, why do we treat them like blue bloods? And it's like, well, then why do we take bye weeks before them? Why do we get up for those big games? Why do those games often live up to the hype? And then you have Miami, who has lost all 3 of their games coming off of bye weeks this year, including Florida International.
Wow.
Is that a rival? I don't think so. Same state, but
No, I didn't realize Miami was the dumpster fire it was. I think until I was reading yesterday that they even lost to that little team. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wow, Miami, I thought they were kind of starting to come up a little bit. And
they didn't just lose. That FIU was a better team. We won't even say more than that. FIU was a better team all day long. In fact, I think they held the lead all day long. And Miami kind of made it look close at the end. It's weird. Those guys have a lot of energy on the sidelines, but just can't turn it into whatever they need to have success this year.
No, it's weird. And their coach, the best their coach could say, I did read this yesterday, was, well, they're just kind of spoiled because they're just thinking, well, we're just going to ride on our tradition and we're just going to have this great opinion of ourselves, but then we're not putting in the work to do it, was kind of his best explanation. Like,
that sucks because that's on you, coach.
Pretty
I
much.
mean, in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what the players think, that they're just like, oh, all cocky and swagger like Miami used to be once they could be because they used to be really good. Mm-hmm. Well, then you're right. That's on the coaching to like kind of get those kids, heads right and get the expectations down,
Do your job, coach.
Pretty much, yeah.
Hey, guess what? I'm going to give you a couple $1 million to see if you can do better instead of just whatever. Yeah. I won't get into it. I don't know enough to say that that's exactly what's going on. So moving on.
Yes.
Michigan and Notre Dame, I always thought has been a great rivalry.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I know it's not on the schedule every year, but it was only off the schedule for a couple years before they brought it back. Some of those games have been some of the best, biggest, most explosive endings in double overtime, triple overtime with a toe-touch touchdowns in the end zone with massive crowds and everybody on their feet and the lights. Right? Didn't they add the lights to Notre Dame for that first game that they had? I know they added the lights, and that's kind of incidental, but the first big game they had was against Michigan under the lights.
I believe you are correct about that, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Michigan, Davey hates Michigan. I get it.
I mean, I don't want to give them a hug or anything.
Nope.
I'm just saying they're not our biggest rival, but I'm not a fan at all.
I hear you. Michigan, Ohio State this weekend. Now, that is a hateful rivalry. Michigan, who did they play last weekend? Why can't I remember this?
Wasn't it somebody fairly easy, like was it Northwestern?
No. They had Michigan State the week before. Look, Michigan, the only reason why I bring it up was to suggest that Michigan's playing better football.
Oh, they are.
A lot of people are playing better football now. I say a lot. Pretty much everybody. Clemson, for example. Since that narrow win on the road at North Carolina, they've been absolutely hurting everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Winning by huge point spreads. Defense has been transcendent, to say the least. Coach has been fired up, angry, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan has kind of quietly become who we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season.
Right.
In spite of the fact that at the beginning of the season, they weren't great.
Well, the whole backstory about that was they hired a new offensive coordinator, and they claimed it was going to take 4 or 5 games for them to really understand the new offense and get it clicking. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, we played them on the 5th game, and it was raining. So so we hit it that's when we played them, right when they started hitting their stride, unfortunately.
I was deliberately not going to talk about the Michigan win over Notre Dame this year, but you brought it up, buddy. So this one's for you.
Yeah. It still hurts, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that was a bludgeoning. But again, that's kind of who I thought, and a lot of people have thought for the past several years, Michigan was going to look like. Shea Patterson is finally looking like they could do something. Look, don't get me wrong. They still don't have much of a run game. I think that's going to be a problem for them this weekend.
Right.
Real quick about Ohio State, I wouldn't call it a struggle win at home against Penn State last weekend. I think a lot of people got upset where Penn State was ranked before and after because of how close it was with Ohio State. Saying, I told you Penn State wasn't the 6th best team in the country. I'm like, great.
So they're the 8th. I mean, I have no problem with Penn State being top 10. They've lost to 2 ranked teams, and I mean, they're a very good football team. On the road, yeah.
Minnesota's not a rival. Ohio State is. Ohio State made a lot of mistakes. I wouldn't say unforced mistakes. They made a handful of them for sure. But they made a lot of turnover mistakes. Like Justin Fields, for example, scores a touchdown only upon further review and high-def super slow motion, it's actually a turnover that Penn State runs down the field for a field goal, mind you. Then their quarterback gets hurt, and the next thing you know, Ohio State's kind of playing prevent. They were up, I think, 3 touchdowns at the point.
Yeah.
And so Penn State was able to just kind of surprise everybody by running straight up the middle with their quarterback and having an extra blocker and get, 8, 10, 12 yards every now and then and keep the score a little bit closer than people expected. I think this was Ohio State's clunker, if you can call it that, for what they've done this season. They've been so good, Chad. They've been elite from top to bottom. I have them number 1. I have Clemson number 1B just because they had a bigger clunker, if you can call it that, too, at North Carolina. But they do kind of stand alone to me. However, you remember, like I said, what Clemson did after that close win at North Carolina?
Yeah.
This is as close as Ohio State's come this year, was the win against Penn State. I think they're going to be even better this weekend against Michigan, who, again, Michigan doesn't have a great run game. That was sort of Penn State's strength. Ohio State really also took their foot off the gas, and I'll try to keep this short, but Ryan Day and the play calling, they've had a deliberate nature to, I don't want to say run up the score, but like I call the 2-minute drill an X factor for these elite teams. And Ohio State had about 40 seconds at the 30-yard line to go into the end of the first half and did not attempt to score, which I thought was, first of all, it's kind of a drag. I was kind of mad. I'm like, really? I'm watching the elite teams to see them at least attempt to do that stuff at home in a rivalry game. Ohio State wasn't passing the ball as much as they traditionally have, which I think is a strength, in particular because Penn State is so bad against defending the pass. I was really kind of surprised that that's what Ohio State chose to do. However, Ohio State's secondary is really, really good. Mm-hmm. Michigan, with Shea Patterson, has been throwing better, but that they're going to have to throw against Ohio State, I think, to have success.
Yeah.
What is the spread now? It's down. It was like 9.5. I think it's 8.
8.5.
8.5. So
8.5.
So you're calling Ohio State to win by more than a score, right? So a touchdown and a field goal or whatever.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. I agree with you about Ohio State. I wouldn't be surprised if they won by 2 touchdowns. It might be towards the end. It might be close the first half. But yeah, I mean, honestly, and I agree with you also. I mean, honestly, the top 2 teams, the teams I've picked that I think are going to be in the national championship, for weeks now, I thought were Ohio State and LSU. I mean, Clemson's really good. Don't get me wrong, so I don't want to offend the Clemson people.
Go on.
But
you just did, so go on.
Okay, I just think those are the 2 best teams this year. I mean,
I'll give you another one of these.
I mean, Clemson for sure is one of the 4 best teams, but I mean, I think just Ohio State is the most complete team. I mean, they're just nuts. I mean, they're just lights out.
I slightly disagree, but it's okay. It'll play itself out, thankfully, because we have the playoff. Look, let's be real honest, real quick. Yeah. If we didn't have a playoff, Clemson, the defending national champs, just wouldn't be in the national title game if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC title game.
They'd be in the Orange Bowl or something.
It would be Ohio State versus LSU. I don't know where Clemson would be. Yeah. And I don't know if it would be enough to create a playoff. Look, I say Clemson as defending national champs. They wouldn't have been in the game last year either. With all those undefeated teams, right? It would have been Alabama and Notre Dame, most likely.
Probably.
Right? Yeah. For better or worse, this year, I think it's even more polarizing. I don't think Clemson would have a chance in the BCS formula outside of the computer polls, and even that, I think, would be a competition with Ohio State.
Right.
And oddly with Georgia, too, because of defense. But
right. Because honestly, especially the way the BCS used to do, strength of schedule meant a whole lot. And it's not Clemson's fault. That's what I mean. They are, in my opinion, definitely one of the 4 best teams.
Yep.
But they just don't play anybody.
Well, this is why we have the playoff.
Right.
So that a team like Clemson, who is this elite, should be given the opportunity.
Right, exactly.
Not just the schedule sucked, but everything went against that, too. They couldn't get Clemson couldn't get a great opponent at their best, even accidentally. Before they played Boston College, following that North Carolina win, Dabo was furious. The team played outstanding, but Boston College didn't have 3 of its best players. Same with Wake Forest. 2 of their best players get hurt the game before.
Right.
And I say best players. They are sincerely elite level talent.
Yeah.
Before they played Clemson. I'm not trying to say conspiracy. I'm saying it really sucks that even for Clemson fans, especially for Clemson fans, that any of these teams that looked marginally competitive were not even close to being at their best all season long. It's been a curse.
Yeah.
On the other side of that curse, Clemson has been remarkably healthy. Thank God. Yeah, I'm a Clemson fan, but I'm really, really – look, Alabama has been defined by injury this year. You
They
remember
have.
Notre Dame a few years ago when they were defined by injury?
Oh, that
It's
sucks.
tragic.
It's awful.
I remember the center, hustling down slowly to go celebrate with his team after a touchdown. And he does a 2-inch vertical, a little jump.
Yeah.
And comes down and his knee explodes.
Right.
Like just out of nowhere.
Right.
Alabama has one of their best tight ends out right now with a vocal cord injury.
Really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either. That's crazy.
What happened? Did you choke on something? Did someone kick you in your throat? Like I didn't ever hear what happened.
Right.
But it takes 8 weeks to recover from that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Tua
crazy.
Tagovailoa was playing out there with a busted up ankle, in 20 days or less. Or
Right.
twice.
Right.
But your vocal cords can't play? Again, that's not even the worst of it all, and I'm not trying to get too deep into that, but it has defined their season. I wouldn't say Clemson's health has defined their season, but I'm always happy to see a team that's this elite stay this healthy. I don't know if the schedule helps that. I think you can have, like I said, with the center for Notre Dame, you can have injury just as an accident. You can have injury in practice.
Yeah.
You can have
Unfortunately.
injury playing intramural basketball.
Yeah.
Triggered some more people again.
Right.
But it is rivalry week, so it's a little more heated this week, and that's fine. I do think Clemson's sincerely elite. They're playing elite level football.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This weekend they travel to play at South Carolina against the Gamecocks.
Oh, my poor Gamecocks. I feel so bad for them.
There they are.
Yeah.
What's for dinner? Go Tigers.
Yeah.
I do sincerely think Clemson is so elite that I don't really expect too much of a fight from the Gamecocks this year. Again, lots of injury, several
Right.
quarterbacks in and out.
Right. I mean, and honestly, a lot of people point to this, even like Gamecock friends, of mine, and they're right. I mean, they pretty much, when they lost to Florida the way they did, and they had those penalties that kind of went against them, and they just lost, they just basically, it looks like the team gave up. And it pretty much shows on the field that they pretty much gave up. I mean, Appalachian State, they could have beat Tennessee. They had more talent. They
App
just,
State's good, though, but you're right.
but yeah, it looks like they just didn't play with any heart, any fire anymore.
You shouldn't lose to App State at home when you're fighting for bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
And don't forget, they're not bowl eligible. This is their last game.
Right.
That sucks.
It
that
does.
really sucks. I don't
Yeah.
think it makes a difference in terms of competitiveness at all. I
No.
think it might help them some to have some more energy, but energy ain't going to win this football game. I don't even think it's going to make it competitive. I hope they don't get into fights and stuff. I say hope, but in all sincerity, I really don't expect anything like that to happen. It is a rivalry, so any rivalry game, you have to throw out all the records, like forget everything you know about the sport. We can try to make guesses, but rivalry weekend has a life of its own. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it does.
We've seen both of these teams win games that we didn't necessarily expect them to win.
Right.
Still.
No,
I
I
do think
don't.
talent and coaching and preparation and Clemson coming off a bye week also helps everything. I think being a new game helps. I just see everything going in Clemson's favor this weekend.
Oh,
outright.
yeah.
And
Let's see, what is the spread? Spread is 27.5. And
so
it's,
they give them the 0.5 to make it an extra score, I guess. It's strange.
I don't know. The 0.5's always crack me up anyway. But
Yeah, because somebody's going to bet on it now in the opposite direction, I guess. That's literally why they do the betting lines the way they
Right.
do. It's not for actually what they think is going to happen. It's just for what people's going to bet. Which
Right.
Often those are the same things, but no.
Right.
How is the Gamecocks defense going to stop Clemson from scoring 4 extra touchdowns?
I just don't. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I think the bigger question is this going to be a shutout?
And that's possible as well.
Is Clemson after it? So, again, this past weekend, who was it? I hate seeing a team score like 50 to 3.
Right.
I hate that.
I hate
3.
those games. Yeah.
And especially in a rivalry game, which we've seen, with other teams like, Tennessee. I don't like that stuff. And I'm not trying to dog Tennessee. I shouldn't have said that, except that we have seen it, so it's a good example. I don't want to see that this weekend. You got to go for strikes. Last year, the game, that was arguably South Carolina's best performance on offense. They were slinging the ball around like crazy.
Oh, yeah. No.
It didn't matter. Clemson still had a pretty resounding win and kind of really were able to take their foot off the gas and run clock. I think the nature
Wasn't
of
it like 30-50 or something like that.
It was a high-scoring game,
yeah.
but it was still
so
a
at least
big
it was
win.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it was not boring.
No.
Chad, this game might be very, very, very boring.
Yeah.
And at the same time as Ohio State and Michigan are playing each other. I'm sorry, that team up north. I'm kind of pulling for Ohio State, so I'll call them that team up north from now on, Michigan.
Oh, I'm definitely pulling
But that's
for
going to be
Ohio
on the
State.
same time. That game is going to be competitive. And again, if Michigan keeps it close, even if Michigan wins, that causes big problems. But if Michigan keeps it close, I think it's going to make everybody sort of overindulge themselves about how competitive Ohio State really is. I still think they're that capable. I think if they bludgeon Michigan, maybe we won't be able to tell the difference. Same with Clemson. Like, what will it really tell us how bad they beat South Carolina? It won't. And thank God for the playoff, because now it doesn't matter. Right? And at the same time, what time is the Virginia Tech game?
That I want to say is on
Actually,
a little bit.
Before we do that.
Okay.
Sorry, this is fun.
Okay.
Who you got? Clemson, South Carolina. Does Clemson cover the spread? I say yes.
I
say
have
35 plus.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't. I just don't think there's much left with South Carolina. I mean, I just don't. There's no real. I mean, it's a rivalry, like you said, but even if they, like, I mean, they got some big halftime speech, let's do one for the Gipper or something, or they're watching Rudy all week. It's not going to help them. I mean, or the Bad News Bears. I mean, it's not going to help them. I mean, they just don't. I mean, I just think they gave up 4 games ago anyway, and I don't know. I think the crowd's, even though I think that crowd is probably, I'm just kind of wondering what the home crowd's going to be like, because they're not playing for anything.
I can't wait to see the crowd. I'm sincerely curious to see how much of it is
It's
Clemson.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And we'll talk real quick about this because it's become such a story. The Tiger Walk, where the Clemson players and coaches all walk arm in arm, hand in hand down the field. It's a tradition. I love the tradition. I love all traditions and pageantry in the sport. It's what makes the sport so vastly unique.
Yeah.
I think walking down the field, for me, it's not televised most of the time at all. Kind of like the marching bands. I love marching bands, but you never get to see them. So it's one of those things where it's like, I can't really get that upset. I'm not worried about things happening. I hope that the story has become that as the players walk down the field to the Gamecock student section, that people are going to be throwing bottles or whatever. I think they can stop people throwing bottles, but they've thrown batteries at them before.
Yeah, see, that's just not necessary. That's such a classless move, and that's just
it's rivalry.
It is,
and
but
it is
I mean, that just looks
so
bad for the whole student body, for the whole university, for anybody. Yeah. I mean, it just looks bad for everybody. It's like, look, we know you're going to win. I mean, just be a little classy. I mean, or don't go. It's fine. I mean, I'm probably not going to watch the game because I know Clemson's going to kick the crap out of Carolina, and I'd rather watch a competitive game, so I'll be watching Ohio State, Michigan.
I hope nobody does anything. I hope it's a silent thing and there's no story. The problem is if one person throws anything, be it a water bottle, a towel that's wet, I don't know, that we will explode, that will go nuts, and it'll light up the Twitter sphere, so to speak. And I just hope that doesn't happen. I hope it goes by with a whisper. That's all. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's a tradition. Deal with it. Enjoy it. This is your last game. I get it. You're upset. It's been a frustrating season. I don't know how to address it. I don't know what you should do, but don't do that.
Right. No, I agree.
Meanwhile, so basically Clemson is waiting to see who they're going to play in the ACC championship game in Charlotte. Is it going to be Virginia
or
Tech?
Virginia Tech?
I said Virginia Tech. You just didn't let me finish.
Oh,
because it's funny. Because Virginia Tech. Do they call them just Tech in Virginia? I don't know. Is this a rivalry? I don't know.
I thought they went by VT.
You can call them whatever you want. Call them the Hokie Birds. Go Hokie Birds. Get your keys out. It's fine.
There you go.
Beamer, Bud Foster. I know Beamer's not there, but I enjoyed those years. Bud Foster, his last game at home, last weekend, absolutely destroyed him. Mm-hmm. Was it a shutout? I think it was. It was a 0. Oh my God, chat. So they beat Pitt, who's been marginally competitive. They're not a bad team this year. I don't know if I can call them good, but they're not a fun team to play. They're still really physical.
They're a bowl team, I believe now.
Yeah, they've got
so they're decent. They're okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure what that really says, but just watching them play, they play tough. They've got some dudes. They're not elite. That's okay to say. They're certainly not bad, though, as bad as a lot of other teams that we see out there right now on the schedule. However,
they're not Georgia Tech.
What I didn't Tech, dude.
Tech. But if I said Tech, Would you know which Tech I meant? Because we were just talking about Virginia Tech. See?
Technically, no.
See, just saying.
All right, this is your last time on the podcast. You're going to treat me like that, okay? Oh, look, Pitt had more penalty yards than yards rushing or passing in this game, right?
Yeah.
They ended up with 0 points on the road at Virginia Tech. Again, like I said, Bud Foster's last game there. Way
great.
to go out with an exclamation point and fireworks. I'm happy for the Hokie Birds. Those are some fun fans. That's a fun culture. I like the school. The colors are kind of neat. I want them to be more competitive. Let's make no mistake. They are not. We thought at the beginning of the season Virginia looked like they were going to be a sincere contender in the ACC. They are in the ACC, but as a contender, I just don't think on a national scale they really mean much at all. Neither does Virginia Tech for what it's worth, but I'm hopeful both of them can improve. However, this game,
You know what surprised
I don't know where
was,
to go. I guess Virginia Tech has been getting better more than Virginia has. So
Yeah, but it still surprised me. It's at Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
They're both 8-3.
True.
And what surprised me was Virginia Tech is technically favored by like 2.5 points. And I don't really get that because they were talking about Virginia Tech is kind of smoke and mirrors better because like 3 of their wins they said were against FCS opponents, which almost doesn't really count. It's like you play Greenville Tech or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to look at those, the wins they've had. Yeah, I don't know. And then it's at the end of the day, it may come down to the two of them. Like, all right, who wants to get their brains beat by Clemson next week?
That's the thing, right? How much do we actually care about this game? Because it's kind of incidental.
Right.
I don't think either one of them really stands much of a chance.
No.
I am more partial to Virginia Tech. I think it's a bigger name. I think it's a better matchup against Clemson.
Yeah.
Not competitively speaking on the field, but just to say the names Virginia Tech and Clemson for the ACC just sounds better.
And historically and classically, Virginia Tech, I mean, they used to be like you said with Bud Foster. Bud Foster and all, they used to be real, and Beamer, they were very competitive. I mean, they were kind of one of the old Big East teams.
Yep.
That
Big East.
That they were like, it was Virginia Tech and Miami that the ACC was like, we want to get bigger, please come to us, because they were great in football.
It was a good move.
Yeah, it was a good move. And then ever since they've got here, they just haven't done much with it.
Well, Virginia Tech is one of those teams who could beat anyone. Like, they could ruin any given team's season at any time. I don't think they're that team this year, and I certainly don't think they will ruin Clemson's season. We thought Virginia was going to be potentially 11-1 going into this game. So I don't know how to call it. I guess I'm going to go with the Hokie Birds and the trend they're setting on defense.
Yeah.
But it does kind of feel like an illusion, and I just don't know how relevant it is. Clemson's going to destroy either one of them.
Yeah.
I really sincerely believe that. And even in a worst-case scenario, with, say, Chase Bryce, for example, there's just not much hope. I don't know how much interest they have in this game.
Trevor Lawrence sprains an ankle or something, and Clemson's still going to win by at least 3 touchdowns.
I don't remember much about this matchup in the past either. Virginia and Virginia Tech. It's a
rivalry, but I mean, I don't know. I would go with, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. It's almost like a coin flip, which is probably why the spread's so close. Probably, I would slightly lean towards Virginia. Just because it's at home. I mean, I'll give them the win at home.
You'll give them the win, okay?
Yeah,
all right.
1 point.
1 point. You've seen a lot of weird.
Like Corso always says, like 1 point. It's closer than the experts think.
He does that a lot, doesn't he?
He does.
I love the old ball coach.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Hokie Birds. Go Hokies.
Okay.
We'll see. Tennessee hosting their in-state rival, Vanderbilt.
You know what?
What?
I forgot to even write that one down.
That's okay. That's why I brought it up.
Because,
we've already talked too much about it. Tennessee is another really good example of a team that has improved through the season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them great. I would call them good. I wouldn't call them the best team that they've had for the last 10 years. They do have talent. I think they're playing better than their talent would otherwise show. Pruitt's done a really good job, in particular on defense, and getting their offense up the spread. Jared Garantano, you never know what to expect from him.
Right.
You just don't. He could have a clunker, or he could outperform and get sacked like crazy and still come out with a bloody nose, but with a W. But it's Vanderbilt.
Right.
In-state rivalry. Not really.
Not really,
Is this a revenge game for when Tennessee went winless in the SEC 2 years ago? No.
No. I mean, that game wasn't even on my radar because Vanderbilt's just so bad this year that, I mean... What are they? 3-8 something. I mean, they're 2-9. I don't know. They're bad. I mean, they're.
I'm going with the Vols.
Yeah, no, I definitely would. And I've heard rumblings, which, I mean, if he gets it, I don't think he's going to get it. What's Tennessee's coach name? Is who?
Jeremy Pruitt.
Of, mentioning him being SEC Coach of the Year just because of the turnaround they've had this year.
Yeah, he should be, but it's going to go to Ed Orgeron. You beat Alabama, you kind of win all the awards. That's why Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman.
Right,
You know, it's weird, but we act like everybody else treats Alabama differently, but it's all of us. Like, we're all saying Joe Burrow is the best thing to happen to quarterbacking since sliced bread. I'm not trying to discount Joe Burrow, only a little bit, I guess, because Joe Brady, the quarterback's coach at LSU, who they brought in this year, has been the defining factor.
Oh, yeah.
And here's my thing with Ed Orgeron. Great job. I'm happy for him.
Oh, yeah.
I love the way he represents LSU. He's such a comic book character.
He's
I thought
great.
Les Miles was that guy, and he was. But Ed Orgeron is somehow even better.
Yeah.
It is a better fit for the culture and yada yada. Joe Burrow, also that guy. Don't forget, he was going to be at Ohio State. How competitive would they be right now? I don't know, because they got a transfer quarterback from Georgia who was going to be at Penn State, and it's been a real mess. That transfer portal has changed the entire nation.
Yeah.
But I think largely it's based on scheme, and because Joe Burrow does have natural ability, but he was just not great last year.
Right. It's kind of hard to believe it's the same guy.
Would we not be saying the same thing with Zach Mettenberger? And I know that's going to make some people go
with that
nuts,
quarterback. Yeah,
but
with the
I
new
honestly
quarterback
don't
coach,
see
yes.
that big of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the coaching change that's made the difference because when I watched LSU, especially beginning this year, I was like, this is the same team? Really? I mean, because that's why everyone's like so up in arms. Everyone's like, yay, we finally broke through. And it's just that one little coaching change because they've always had the talent. But like with Alabama, for instance, they hadn't beat him in like almost a decade because they didn't decide not to hire anybody who could, teach a quarterback how to throw the ball.
Right. And didn't have a plan. Dave Aranda, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country.
Yeah.
And their defense sucks this year. It really kind of does. That's my whole thing with Orgeron. Like, I'll give him all the credit. I'll be happy for him if he wins Coach of the Year. But LSU's defense was a staple, right? LSU was not competitive for the better part of 3 decades. They've come on because they had defense, but were known for having this sort of caveman offense, right? Now they changed from that, and in a year, they're going to win Coach of the Year award, among other things, and probably the Heisman. Joe Burrow is almost certainly going to win the Heisman, it seems like, for that win over Alabama, and especially if they beat Georgia in the SEC title game in Atlanta.
Right.
However, really? To me, if your team is now not defined by defense, I don't know that you've done the best job in the league as a coach. Because it's that bad. It's gotten that bad. I'm not saying they're one of the worst, but it's really, really bad. You mentioned Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt scored over 30 on LSU. Ole Miss had, 700 yards, and most of them on the ground. Again, that's been the opposite of the way LSU has performed on defense for the better part of a decade.
Right.
To see that go so bad so quickly, nobody's noticing. Like, we know a lot of people are talking about how bad LSU's defense is. I get it. But compared to their offense, which is what we're celebrating, it's like we forgot. The same thing kind of happened to Alabama, only just not as disparaging. And again, injury has been a bigger problem for them.
Right.
But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I love that. What a great back. Thank God we're talking about his name. He's a candidate for the Doak Walker Award, which Travis Etienne is not. I guess we'll get into the awards later. I'm not really worried about that. It kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I just can't get mad about it because the guys who are up for these awards are great. But not Coach of the Year to me. I hate to say it in a way, but yeah, it's got to be Pruitt for me. If I had a vote, that's where it would be going.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to me talk about that.
No, you're fine. And
go Tigers.
Yeah, like I said, it's as far as picks go, hands down. It's got to be Tennessee. It'd be a shock if Vanderbilt somehow managed to beat them. So I would agree with that. And and moving on to LSU, as the season has progressed, I think that their defensive inefficiency, shall we say,
it hasn't gotten better.
No, it's gotten worse. If they get any worse, you're going to basically start comparing them to like a Big 12 team. It's like puts up lots of points, but they kind of like.
Comparison.
But I always make the joke. It's like, did they not have it in the budget to actually hire a defensive coordinator? You know what I mean?
They've got Aranda. He's one of the best.
Right. We
gave him all the credit last year.
Right.
Right. And rightly so.
Right.
What happened this year?
It's a head scratcher as far as their defense goes.
It doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't.
I thought they would be better on accident. Like if you were letting them relax and putting in your second stringers, or they had a ton of injury and attrition.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't get it. I do think LSU is one of the best teams in the country, and they're going to have their opportunity to prove it against Georgia.
Right.
But Yeah, I just don't really. I think any game they play, for example, against, say, Ohio State, Clemson, Utah, would be exciting. Look, even if they had a rematch against Alabama, nobody would be happy about it, but it wouldn't be boring. The game that they had this year was one of the most exciting from a fan perspective that we've seen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was much better than those. Even like the last time LSU beat Alabama, what was that, like in 2010 or 11 or something?
No. It was actually
that
2019. It was just a few weeks ago, Chad. Don't remind me.
Funny guy. But back then they beat them by like a field goal. It was like a field goal game because their defense was so good. And this game was the opposite.
No, actually, it was very similar. So in that game, Alabama's field goal kicker, who never missed anything, missed 5 field goals, including 3 in the red zone. Right?
I do remember that.
In the national championship game, when Alabama was up 15-0, it was all because of him. He had kicked 5 field goals that he'd made, including a 47-yarder. Right? That guy was so good, but in that game, he was awful, and they lost by a field goal in overtime to 2 teams that were loaded with defensive talent that defined a way that a lot of people just didn't want to watch football. This year, Jerry Jeudy, who has hands like Velcro and super glue, drops touchdowns in the end zone. Time and time again. You had so many. I already talked about that, so I won't get too far into it. But I will say this real quick. Alabama had so many unforced errors, right, in that game that I don't think it's disingenuous to suggest that the 5-point win LSU had could have gone the other way. Like, the stats were arguably almost identical. I think Alabama actually had more offensive yards. This all sounds like excuses, and I get it. My point is this. If Alabama won, they would probably be ranked number 1 right now in the country, maybe number 2 behind Ohio State. They still wouldn't be the top team in the country to me at all, period. Especially because of injury, in particular after losing Tua and other guys like Raekwon Davis and not Miller Forrestall, who was the other guy. It doesn't matter. I don't know that we would be talking about Joe Burrow the same way if Alabama had won that game. Maybe we would.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying what you can't do is get upset if he wins the Heisman. You just can't.
Oh, no. I mean, he's...
Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
They play Texas A&M this weekend, correct?
Yes, they do.
What's the spread, Chad?
16.5.
For LSU?
LSU, 16.5 point favorite at,
So, and on paper you go, oh, LSU will beat them. You know, it'll be 50 to subtract 16, 17.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Texas A&M has gotten better too. They're not great on offense. They gave Georgia fits, who does have a competitive defense. I'm not sure they're necessarily elite anymore, but they're up there. Are they going to be able to stop Texas A&M from scoring within 17 points?
I mean, this one, they're just going to have to score more and stop them a couple times. I mean, they're going to win, but I don't know. Yeah. I honestly don't know if they would cover. I mean, that's a good question. If A&M moves the ball and, they're putting up touchdowns too, yeah, it may be more of a 10, 14-point game.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
I am not picking LSU to cover.
No.
I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not picking LSU to cover. I could be wrong. I'll be happy if I'm wrong. If LSU just bludgeons them. But in particular, after playing Georgia last week, which was a physical game, maybe Texas A&M just isn't prepared. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, we'll see. But I mean, then
what time is that game?
I don't know. The game it's later. I think that may be the night game.
Okay, when we're watching Bedlam.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is Bedlam the best named rivalry? I mean, Bedlam.
Yeah.
It's just a great word.
Yeah.
And to me, if you ever say the word Bedlam, it means Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah.
Right. If you say Iron Bowl, I get you know what it means. If I said iron, you're like, oh, okay, whatever.
But you said Bedlam. Yeah, that's true. Right? That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
If I said the Palmetto Bowl, we know what you're talking about. The rest of the country has no idea.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's.
There's a lot of games going on like that this weekend.
Right.
Like Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah.
I can't believe how excited I am for that game this year, which I wasn't in September.
I know, and I'm totally pulling for Minnesota. I mean,
PJ Fleck.
I know. I mean, to me, they're like the feel-good story of the whole year. I mean, and I kind of like Ohio State. I mean, we know how I feel about Michigan, but I mean, I actually kind of liked Ohio State. But I mean, if Minnesota actually got past Wisconsin, I'm pulling for them. They're going to go play Ohio State. I don't think they could do it. But if they somehow found like a miracle to beat Ohio State, and they went to the playoffs, that would be fantastic for that program. That would just be
It would.
fantastic
Oh
for
my
the
God.
sport.
Yeah, but I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it's going to happen. It'd be great, but it's just not
It'd
going
be
to
great.
happen. It's kind of wishes, but it'd be great. But,
Jonathan Taylor, tailback, one of the best guys in the country at running. At running back.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what he can do. Minnesota has not been exceptional at stopping the run.
right.
Wisconsin is able to throw the ball more than people are aware of this year, especially if you're not watching. You're not aware that Wisconsin actually does have some dudes at receiver.
Yeah.
They're not exactly fun. I'm not trying to suggest that, but I've enjoyed watching Wisconsin. This game will be a lot more fun than I think anybody really expected, including me. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Does this determine who goes to play Ohio State if they win?
It absolutely does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, I love the Badgers, but go Gophers. Get those teeth out and munch on some trees.
Yeah. I mean, I know, and it's. Yeah. I mean, Wisconsin's favored, and
What's the spread?
it's just 3. I mean, I think it's really because it's.
I think Wisconsin wins, but give me the Gophers. Let me have it.
Yeah, I think and it's at Minnesota. I mean, but still, Wisconsin's still favored by 3. But yeah, I mean, my heart, I want to say Minnesota. I think it's great, but it's probably going to be Wisconsin. I mean, Minnesota hasn't been this good since, and I'm going to bring this reference up. You're going to like
Please,
this.
let me have it.
Do you remember the sitcom from like 80s and 90s, Coach with Craig T. Nelson?
I do.
Yeah, and that's where he was the coach of, was Minnesota.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the fictional Minnesota or it could have just been Minnesota because, well, it's Minnesota. It's not like it would cost a whole lot
I was
for
going to say,
copyright.
at the time, yeah, I mean, we had WKRP in Cincinnati. Like, you could get away with that stuff.
Right,
in the
exactly.
80s.
And, that's like the last time I've ever heard of them being good was when they were fictionally good on, on the TV show. And I'm not wrong because I think they said before they got to like the 8th or 9th win this year, it was like 1906 or something was the last time they got that many wins. So to me, Minnesota, I'm kind of big on Minnesota. I'm really pulling for it. I think they're kind of the feel-good team of the year, and I hope it keeps going.
I called the Iowa win over Minnesota reluctantly, but I saw it coming.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with it. Same with the Bears from Baylor playing Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Who, hey, look, Baylor's going to get to play in their first ever Big 12 championship game. I'm excited for it.
I know,
love Matt
regardless.
Rule.
Yeah, I mean, that's great and good for Matt Rule. I mean, he's really turned that program around. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Oh, my gosh. Matt Rule beat y'all, didn't he?
Did
At Temple. No. That was a close game.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, they almost beat us. They were feisty, man. They were feisty.
Yeah. Late win by the Fighting Irish at Temple in Philly.
Yeah, because they were ranked. I think College Game Day was there because Temple was ranked, and I think it might be like the first time.
Gosh, I remember. And I love game day. That was not a well-attended game day. It's not a great place to have game day either, I don't think, there near Temple, which is kind of right in the heart of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like versus Minnesota. I wish they'd have gone there, but when they went to Memphis and North Dakota State, like those things were packed.
Yeah, they kind of have to. Yeah, they really need to do some more scouting with some of these games because, like, my wife, she's got like family that lives up in that area, Philly area, and
Your
Jersey.
wife is a Clemson fan.
Well, she is.
Go Tigers.
But and like she's told me that up there it's so much more pro versus college that especially like around Philly and all that. I mean that's part of the reason why the attendance was just
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I don't know why they did it there.
Yeah.
I know they try to go to new places. I was happy to see them. I love Philly.
Yeah.
I love the pretzels.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
over.
But yeah. But
I'm really happy for Matt Rule. He and PJ Fleck are two guys that I'm really happy people are learning their names because they're having success quickly. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think one of the things that I really love to celebrate about the sport is people like them, including guys like Dabo Swinney, who represent how to think, act, feel, and behave in better ways for young men to change the way they think, act, feel, and behave. Not just young players, but also other coaches, right? Matt Rule is great. I was not happy when he got the Baylor job. I knew he was going to leave Temple. He deserved a job.
right.
But Baylor was going through all that turmoil. Baylor was sort of known for being, when we finally did know him for anything, they were known for Art Briles and rape and all these really bad things. Title IX.
Should we call it Sleazegate or Rapegate? I mean,
I don't care. It was
It
really,
was
it was bad.
terrible. Yeah, and that was the environment that Briles let it get to, and just like, oh no, do whatever. I'm just gonna look the other way.
It was worse. I mean, those guys were mean on the field. They were dangerous. And I mean, hitting people late, hitting people hard. Targeting was a real problem for them. Don't forget, before targeting was a rule. I didn't like them. I thought Yeah, great. What better guy to fix that program than Matt Rule? But I still didn't want to see it. I thought he deserved a better job. And now, here he is. He's defining Baylor. He's changed the way we perceive Baylor in one season, basically.
Yeah. And,
I'm happy for him.
And, I mean, and they're still, and I agree with this, by the way. They're a 2-touchdown favorite. It's on the road, but it's at Kansas, which is Les Miles' new school, if I'm not correct. And, I'm not surprised about Kansas sidebar. I mean, he might get them to 6-7 wins, and maybe that's all he really cares about because that's maybe all Kansas
What do they
cares
care
about.
Chad, you know how happy the Jayhawks are this year with Les Miles?
They've
true. Been a storyline every single weekend, it seems like.
And not always the butt of the joke for once.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
They're not going to go to a bowl game this year, but who knows, maybe next year. But yeah,
Are they not? There's a lot. Chad, there's so many teams out there with 7 losses that there are going to be teams in bowl games with fewer than 6 wins. There has to be to fill them up.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to see Kansas now? I say who wouldn't.
I would,
get that
but,
a lot of y'all wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. I mean, it depends, but I would.
Well, because of their coach, if nothing else.
The fans would, and absolutely because of the coach.
See, I didn't realize they had 5 wins. I was thinking they had 3 or 4, but I could be mistaken because I don't follow the Big 12 that closely.
I'm not looking, but I'm hopeful. And again, I think they deserve it. I think a lot of people get upset about bowl games, and it's like, how upset could you ever really be for these kids to get a free trip for a game you don't care about anyway, and they get a PlayStation 4 or some really cool headphones? Like these kids who battle for our entertainment earn it. Deal with it.
Right. No,
I know you don't care. Let them care. Let them enjoy it. Just shut up about the bowl games. You don't have to watch.
Right. If you don't want to, but it's a reward
it's worse
for the
when
kids.
You're like the Gamecocks and you're not going to a bowl. And you're not getting those prizes, and everything that you worked hard for this year just to see go away in spite of how hard you worked and how much it hurt sucks.
Yeah, no, it does. That's why I like the bowls. I mean, some people, not going to mention any names, they're like, oh, I don't know the bowls. I think there should just be like a couple games and that's it. I'm like, well, yeah, but you're not busting your butt every week. And like you said, for most of the year and practice and summer practice and spring practice, that's these kids' rewards. Like you said, I agree with you. I think the bowl games, not everyone can make the playoffs, obviously. There's only 4 teams. I mean, I like the bowl games. I mean, it's a reward for the kids. Yeah. So, I'm all for those. And, back to this game. Yeah, good for Baylor.
Good for Baylor.
That'll be their, would that be their 11th win?
And again, it was already success at 9 wins. Already.
Right, yeah.
I don't think they're one of the best teams in the country, kind of like Minnesota. A lot of people are saying they deserve to be ranked higher. Like, just because they were undefeated, that's not why. You can tell. If you watch them, I love both of these teams. I love both of those coaches. I like the way they're playing football. But the competition out there at the top, it's not the same. It's just not.
It's really not, no.
It's a great argument for 8. Okay, I like 8. I've come around on playoff expansion this year, Chad, because I just see it. I think it would be better. I think I want it more too, not just to see these matchups. In particular with Clemson. We have to wait 5 more weeks before Clemson, to me, sincerely gets a competitive opponent. And I don't care who it is. And 5 weeks is a long time. And in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy those other bowl games and stuff.
Right, yeah.
But we're going to get to see it because of the playoff, right? And if we had 8 of those, so Clemson gets another game, I'm not upset about that. I love it, and I celebrate it. I'm super stoked.
I definitely agree with you about Baylor. I mean, of course, we both agree Baylor's going to win. So that would be, I think, the pick. That's Good. I think they're going to cover too, personally. But
don't you kids know anything?
But
I don't know throw that out there.
I would, I mean, I'm all for keeping Baylor top 10. I mean, that's fine. But I don't think they're one of the 4 best. I mean, honestly, I'll say this. Well, this actually could theoretically happen. If Notre Dame plays them. I mean, I think Notre Dame will win. I mean, I think we have more talent than Baylor. I mean, they're good, but they're, like you said, their schedule's been kind of easy.
Nobody wants to hear it. In my opinion, this is Brian Kelly's most competitive team in his tenure at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just a homer. Okay, fine, I am. But I can also judge critically. Right. And I can also see that Michigan, for example, was a better team that day, and they have evolved too.
Yeah, no, they hands down were,
Book isn't elite. That's fine.
We kind of knew he wasn't. He's actually picked it up since Michigan. Actually, the past 3-4 games, he's starting to run more. He is. I think he's now. I want to say 3rd for like most passing touchdowns now. He's still accurate as heck. I mean, he's only had 6 interceptions. I mean, so he's really kind of evolved to be a very good quarterback. Yeah. But no, I never thought he was elite. And the fact that he's actually evolved to a very good quarterback, I'm very happy about it, and I think pretty like 99% sure he's coming back next year. I mean, because And he was, I think, like a 3-star. That's what's so funny. You just never know
Yeah.
how these kids. Like we've had much higher recruits.
You've had 5 stars.
Yeah.
Who did not pan out.
It did not pan out, right?
Yeah.
And then Brandon Wimbush. Poor, I feel bad for the kid. He couldn't even cut it down in that little school in Florida. What was it? UCF.
That little school is UCF.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Sorry.
The Knights, baby.
The Knights.
Come
sorry.
on.
But I mean,
The Golden Knights. I don't know who I'm triggering now. I like calling them the Golden Knights, but I don't think you're supposed to anymore. I can't remember. I hate that stuff.
But
I
yeah,
like UCF.
but yeah, no. I mean, Wimbush isn't like up here elite, but he's. I mean, he never was. And then like I said, and I'm really happy the book's really kind of progressed as much as he has.
So you're in the book club.
I am. Yeah, yeah. I'm in the book club here, right? Yeah.
I like him too.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Yes.
Speaking of bowls, how about the Iron Bowl? Tua Tagovailoa is going to play in this game.
Well, then they would
Just
win
kidding.
for sure. I would put my money on that game.
Tua is not playing in the Iron Bowl this year.
Sadly, he's not. No.
Yep.
And
Mac Jones, everybody knows his name now because of the throttling they put on Western Carolina, right? No, we know his name because he's the backup to Tua Tagovailoa. That's it.
right.
How good is he? Do you know that?
I have no idea because
I don't think
the
most
only
people
game
do
he
either.
started was against Western whatever Carolina.
Yeah, but we said the same thing about Tua Tagovailoa when he was a true freshman. He had plenty of highlights when he was playing in the second half against teams with great film. The narrative became, oh my gosh, who's this kid who came out and beat Georgia?
Right.
Oh, well, it's the guy that we've been watching all year. I get that people don't know who Chase Bryce is, for example, right?
Right.
I get that why people don't know who Mac Jones is. What I'm kind of surprised at is that people think that Mac Jones is just a total dud, right? Because why would you be at Alabama if you're really good, knowing that Tua Tagovailoa is the starter? Because you could say the same thing for Clemson,
Right.
Chase
Why
Bryce
hasn't
could
he
play
gone to
elsewhere.
the transfer portal like a lot of these other kids did?
like Hunter Johnson did, and he's been terrible at Northwestern. And again, that's
Right.
awful. He got hurt, but he came
Right.
back and did not look good. Again, he never
No.
looked good this year.
I had really high expectations because Hunter Johnson was going to be their starting quarterback.
5-star.
Yeah, 5-star, and I was like, wow, good for Northwestern. I thought they were going to be, and I like them. I mean, they're kind of scrappy little team and all that, and I like Pat Fitzgerald. I thought they were going to be like an 8-win, maybe 9-win team this year. I thought they were going to repeat what they did last year, and boy, was I wrong. Wow.
Auburn has a good defense. It's at Auburn. It's a tough place to play. It's going to be loud. And I
Yes.
mean insanely loud. They do a really, really good job of that. This is a rivalry. I
Oh, yeah.
don't hate Auburn as much as I probably should as an Alabama fan, and at least that side of my fandom. I really don't like the way Gus Malzahn thinks, acts, feels, and behaves for the most part. I don't like their offensive scheme. I don't like not being able to see the snap, let alone entire plays because of the style of offense you have. I get it. The argument against it doesn't hold up anymore. It's safety. No, I get it. I don't have to love it, though, right? I like to see guys take the snap from shotgun. I like to see the time. I like to see the chess match. I don't like to see what Auburn does. I also don't like to see what's happened with their culture behind the scenes with Bo Nix and all the money issues and the problems that the fans have with the leadership. I don't
Right.
like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
God forbid they do beat Alabama this weekend. Does Gus Malzahn get another contract extension? Because make no mistake, if Alabama loses to Auburn this year, you have a really tough choice to make between the fans, the leadership culture, and your coach at Auburn. Malzahn's kind of locked in, but I don't think they win this game regardless. But if they do, is that really what you want? I mean, for most Auburn fans, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that I speak to anyway. But you still want to beat Alabama. It's kind of a loaded question because their culture right there is
Yeah,
just
I mean-
kind of tricky behind the scenes. However, Auburn has great defense. If they
do.
can get to Mac Jones before he can actually do things with the ball, that's good news for Auburn. I think Nick Saban has traditionally shown that he doesn't want to do that. He wants to keep it on the ground. If you do that against Auburn, they will stop you pretty good. And you can try to do that for 4 quarters and sort of crock-pot them, but I don't think that's going to work against this Auburn team. They have depth, they have dudes, they have real elite-level physicality on defense. I say elite level, you know what I mean. I don't mean to suggest they're an elite defense. I thought they had capability to be that this year, but they're not. I'm still going with Alabama. I think that's a 6 points or 3 points. What is it?
3.5.
3.5?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you're not. They're basically saying Auburn is barely favored at home, so they're almost calling it even. And I just don't think Mac Jones is that bad at all. I think the game planning by Steve Sarkisian has been exceptionally good. I think those receivers, like the one place where Alabama is still healthy, is at their
His
best
receiving
position
core,
players,
yeah.
the receiving core, and Najee Harris is included. I don't think he's elite in the sense that the top of the echelon. I think he's right on the outside edge, and he's looked like he could be elite sometimes, but only this season against maybe not some great teams. But they have a sincere competitive advantage on offense for sure at Alabama.
They
That's kinda
do.
what it's
They
going to
do.
come down to.
Yeah, I mean, this game, to me, I'm just uneasy about because, like I said, it's only the second start for Mac. I mean, if Tua was don't get me wrong, Tua was healthy, I would say you guys 3 touchdowns. I mean, easy. I don't care if it's at Auburn or not. I don't know. It's the rivalry. It's at Auburn. It's the second start. I mean, yeah, I mean, if I was, if I was going to pick, I mean, I would be like Alabama. Mm-hmm. I would probably still take Alabama, but I would like nervously pick Alabama just because it's a rivalry game. It's at Auburn.
Yep.
You got that. I mean, like I wouldn't put any money on it.
No,
But I sincerely hope. Well, especially since I've been watching the game with you, I sincerely hope you won't be disappointed. Let's put it that way.
I had somebody say, I wish we'd have asked Dabo Swinney yesterday in his press conference who he wants to win the Iron Bowl. And I don't know what he meant by that question, and I don't like to call people out in person, but that's, to me, a silly question. Dabo Swinney is rooting for Alabama against Auburn every single time.
He's from Alabama, and he went to Alabama.
It's a huge part of his life.
Right.
It's silly. We know the answer.
I mean, he's an Alabama alum now.
If
right?
you're trying to do the loaded thing, like does this mean that Alabama has the potential to get in the playoff and all that stuff? First of all, I don't think it necessarily affects that at all anyway, period. I don't think Alabama controls its own destiny.
It doesn't, no.
But you don't you're trying to suggest Dabo wants Auburn to beat Alabama? Like,
Never.
No. So why bring it up? And thankfully they didn't. It wasn't a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that would have been a really stupid question. I mean, who in the right mind is going to pull against their alma mater for God's sakes? I mean,
especially one that's been supportive of it, like Gene Stallings coming here, his former coach, and wearing his Clemson gear and doing the vlog and the videos and stuff together and being there with them. Look, you're going to see Gene. If Alabama's not in the playoff, which again I don't expect them to be, you're going to see Gene Stallings out there with Dabo Swinney again, like you do every year.
Ironically enough, since you brought that up, this was I can tell you right now, if it does work out that way, I've already seen the projection, and this is the game that everybody wants.
Which one?
If Alabama's not in the playoff, it's the Sugar Bowl. Guess who? Versus Oklahoma. Which is
Alabama.
Yeah. Which is everyone has been wanting to see that game all year.
That
but
to me would be a game to celebrate.
Right.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting game, and that's what that was the big thing. Well, how's Hurts going to do out of Oklahoma? Is he going to do well? And kid's done great. I'm really happy for him. I mean, it's yeah.
He's been kind of hit or miss this year. I don't think he's been all that different. He is a champion. That dude is a competitor. That dude's a baller.
Yeah.
That dude is good for the sport.
He was the leading Heisman contender for the first 6 games. In the first half of the season. Yeah,
he had opportunities. I think again, Joe Burrow beating Alabama kind of puts the exclamation point on it for everybody, and I don't necessarily have to think that that's a bad thing. But I love Jalen Hurts. I'd be super happy with him winning the Heisman because he would be such a great representative of the sport forever. Right, to see on these Heisman House commercials and at the Heisman Award ceremony. Jalen Hurts is one of those guys who doesn't hate. He supports other people, and he's good about it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they do against Oklahoma State. We'll talk real quick about that.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State has been quietly competitive. They can score on anybody.
I think they're still ranked, aren't they? Like 20, 21st, something like that.
I don't really care. Because that sort of gets.
So they're not
triggered.
Bad, but I mean,
we played a team that was ranked. They were 25th. I just can't get upset about it. I can't really care to do the research for that stuff. I see groups and I don't care. But I also see that even if they weren't, for example, Chad, if Oklahoma State was unranked, which isn't disingenuous to suggest, they can still score points.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oklahoma isn't great against stopping points. This is a night game. I think it's at 7 or is it 8 Eastern. Anyway. It's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of points. Yeah,
it's not going to be boring.
No.
But go Boomer Sooner. Give me Jalen Hurts all day, every day. Also, getting back to Alabama, Auburn, I digress. I do think Alabama wins this one big. I really do. I just think they've got it.
So you think big, really?
Against the spread, against 3 points, I think they win by at least a touchdown. I think. Let's put it this way. Auburn does not have a great offense. Alabama's defense is not great, but they've gotten a lot better. Yeah. Right, with a bunch of true freshmen who are sincere elite-level talents in some positions. Secondary isn't a sincere strength for them because of the scheme. Their talent level is there, but Bo Nix isn't exactly the guy to just sling it around, which is how teams have had success.
That's true.
Auburn, against their 3 most competitive defenses, has they scored, I think, 20 at home, and the other 2, they barely scored 10. I just don't see how – to beat Alabama, I think you're going to have to score more like 30.
Right.
Or let's just say 24 or 21. I just don't see that happening. I think it's going to be more like Alabama 31, Auburn
24
maybe,
or something.
Maybe 21, maybe less.
I could see. Now, here's the only thing about the spread I don't like. Because to me, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree.
Go on.
If you just beat somebody by a touchdown, especially if it's like towards the end and, you have to score a touchdown.
Right.
See, to me, that's a close game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, if it's a one-score game, of course it's close.
That's what I mean. So, so I would still consider if Alabama, let's say, beats them by a touchdown, that's still a close game. So when I said I had Alabama close,
Gotcha.
I mean, I could honestly see them scoring a touchdown late versus a field goal, just because they, like you said, they've got the receivers. I mean, I still think it's gonna be close.
I see this spread as kind of a surprise overreaction to people with Mac Jones.
Right.
Simple as that. In spite of the other talent, not discounting the injury and stuff too, but the game plan and everything, I just don't know. I forgot what I was going to say, Chad. Still, I just don't see it.
I mean, it's
Bo Nix has been not great.
If you put it in the hands of the quarterback, and I would still go with Alabama's backup versus Auburn versus Bo Nix. He hasn't delivered all year. I mean, he gets in these big games and he just doesn't do anything. I mean, he turns the ball.
And like Oregon, they had no choice, and they're going for it. I had to give them credit for at least trying to win.
Right.
And they did. It won.
Right.
They had to go for it. On fourth down, they had to convert. On a third and long, they had to convert. To the end zone with time running out, they had to convert, or not convert, but to take a strike that they didn't need to. Arguably, they had time. They had 2 timeouts, things like that.
Right.
They had that killer mentality, and just still it was a close win. Bo Nix has just not been sensational.
No.
I don't know how. I think that he can definitely get some passes against Alabama's defense for sure. I'm not trying to suggest they're just going to hold him to 0, but I don't think they're going to score enough to win. And 3.5 points, just to me, is I think it's an overreaction. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I would still, even with.
Could be wrong. Again, it's a rivalry. It's a hated one. It's in
Right.
Auburn. They're going to be loud. They're going to try a trick. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe a flea flicker with this. I don't love it, but we'll see.
I mean,
I think the
and Auburn, plus
points,
Auburn really hates you guys.
Yeah, that's a rivalry.
So it depends how much that hate's going to fuel them. Or I'll almost be worried about them taking cheap shots against your players.
We've seen it before,
Auburn.
but not necessarily from this year's team. So we'll see. I hope not.
But I don't know. We'll
especially
see.
with the amount of injury.
But yeah, but I think it's. I agree. I mean,
I think the 3.5 is worth noting because of how many extra points Alabama has missed again this year. And I don't know if the stat is correct. But last year, Alabama missed more than anybody. And this year, I think they've done the same thing, right? I think they're on their third kicker, right? And they've missed more extra points. Never mind field goals. Never mind that.
Right.
They've hit like 50-yarders, too, in field goals, right? But extra points, Chad, they've missed tons. Enough to say, yeah, instead of a 3-point spread, we'll give it 3.5.
Wow.
That's where I'm at.
That's funny. I didn't know
I'm
that.
not kidding. But those are the same people who I think are, betting against them because of Mac Jones. And I get it. I just disagree. So we'll see.
Yeah, and like I said, we do both have Alabama. I'm a little nervous about it for you just because it's a rivalry. But I mean, I think it's going to be close. But I think Alabama's going to find a way to pull it out.
It's a roll tide.
Like I said,
coaching matters.
Yeah, and did we pick Oklahoma State?
I'm picking Oklahoma, but close. What was the spread?
It's like 13.5. It's basically 2 touchdowns.
I don't think they're going to beat the spread.
No, I agree. Maybe
it's going to be maybe
7
close
to
10.
7 to. I was going to say 7 to 10.
They're both going to score a lot.
Exactly.
CeeDee Lamb was not sensational last weekend. Arguably one of the best receivers in the country. I think he's up for the Biletnikoff. He doesn't own all the stats. We'll talk about awards real quick.
Yeah.
I believe he's up for the Biletnikoff. Devontae Smith at Alabama has crazy stats. And some of the top stats for the position this year, there are zero Alabama players nominated for those awards, including Doak Walker, which Alabama has won a lot of. And again, I bring it up because of Travis Etienne not being up for the Doak Walker Award for the best running back in the country. What's really weird to me is that, this is the 6th year of the playoff. Mm-hmm. Why are we in such a hurry to get these awards out? In January, why not? We're not doing anything else. Why not do the awards in January? We've changed the sport so much, but we're reluctant to do anything about changing the awards that we say don't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not just push it back? I love having, the Heisman ceremony decorated with all the Christmas trees and all that stuff. I do. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
But before the biggest games of the year, it used to be that there was only one game left, and now you've got at least 3 that can often be incredible.
Right.
It's not that much to ask, I don't think, to just push it back a little bit more. I digress. It's not an us against the world thing, in spite of the fact that a lot of us here at Clemson are treating it that way, versus seeing the same thing happen to other people with elite level talent that are breaking stats in their respective categories, not responding the same way en masse. It's frustrating. It's difficult. When Dabo Swinney brought it up in his press conference yesterday, he basically said, the award, if Travis ETNT, I call him ETNT because he's explosive, and I can't believe nobody else calls him that. I've done this
Right.
all year, Chad, and last year. If he's not a nominee, then this award doesn't matter. I can't remember exactly what he said, so I won't say anything about it, except that he was asked, and he responded to it and said it's kind of a joke. He said the word joke.
That is kind of surprising. He's not.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
again,
have they announced like the final? Like these are the finalists? Is that
Oh, yeah.
that has been announced? Okay.
each of them has, I think, a max of 3 finalists.
Still though.
Yeah. So you have all these other leaders, too, who aren't even nominated for these awards. So you could argue, is it based on your strength of schedule? Like, no, I don't think so now because of the other players. Like, the voice here is a lot louder. And it's loud enough for me, and I'm just going to keep this short. It's been frustrating for me to see the culture represent that way so largely. A lot of people argue with me that, it's just some of the fringe people. I'm like, no, it's not. It's Eric McClain, like, who defines the network, but for Clemson, right? He said earlier this year, Alabama's best, what have they done? Their best win was a 30-point win against Notre Dame. Do you remember that game? I missed that game. I didn't see it. I'm not even sure who Alabama beat more than 31 points except for Western Carolina, but it's incidental when the leaders and the most public voices are saying things that aren't just they're illegitimate probably, but to just get so frustrated and so upset so often and so prolific about it. Like, again, people say, well, maybe it's just you, Gracie, and all that stuff. But we're talking about national commentators, right? And the responses are, let's say 75 to 80% Clemson disputing that, right? It's frustrating. I don't have to be happy about it. And it's changed a lot this year. 3 years ago, it was, why don't y'all come with us? Why don't y'all become Clemson fans? And now it's, you're either with us or completely against us. And saying things like, I don't think the committee or any of these media members have watched a single minute of football from Clemson is tough for me to be okay with people saying. I'm just going to leave it at that. I have a podcast so I can say, do better. Say better thing.
Right.
Travis ETNT is a sincere, explosive talent. There are a ton of other guys out there like that. Celebrate them. Celebrate these guys who, look, let's put it this way. The guys who are nominated for these awards are terrific, deserve accolades, right? Chase Young for Ohio State. I get it. Maybe he's getting more credit than he deserves, but that happens every year.
Right.
He is really that good. He may go number 1 in the draft. He is a sincere, legitimate talent. To the point where, again, I can't get that upset. I'm more upset with how we respond to that because it's stuff that doesn't matter. And again, next year, look, you're wearing Notre Dame. Clemson plays Notre Dame. Where is that game? Do you remember?
I believe it's a little place called South Bend,
So
Indiana.
it is on the road for Clemson. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a big game. If Clemson wins, it's a big win. Big enough for a guy like Trevor Lawrence to win the Heisman in his junior season, for example, right? And if he does, we will go bonkers. We will celebrate it, and it will be well-deserved. Especially by then, he could be, I'm trying to do the math real quick. He could be technically 30-something and 0 as a starter if they win the national championship. I say could be, right? I'm still hoping for 45 and 0 just because I would love to see it, but he wouldn't be 45 and 0 before winning the Heisman. He would be, potentially 41 and 0 or 42.
Something like that, yeah.
And not as a starter, but I get it, on the same team, so still.
Right.
But we will celebrate it. And that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, sure.
And in the meantime, y'all, just hear me out. Just try to enjoy the awards. Try to enjoy watching highlights from the best people in the sport at their respective positions, arguably, right? There's nobody out there who's just a clunker, who's just determined by the blogosphere or the powers that be. There is sincere, legitimate, elite-level talent out there to enjoy. So just try to keep it simple and enjoy it. That's all.
Cool.
What other games we got to go?
All right. Yeah, well, these we're going to do real quick because we've already kind of talked on them. Georgia, 28.5 favorite at Georgia Tech. Georgia, they're going to cover. I mean,
You keep saying Georgia Tech, which makes me...
Tech, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to disrespect the Tech.
Tech is not great. Georgia didn't play its best game last weekend against Texas A&M at home.
Right.
There are question marks on offense. I'm still going with the Bulldogs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I think it'll be close. You said 24.5?
28.5.
28.5. See, that's too much. I don't think they can score 28. You know what? Screw it. I'm going with the Dogs. Give me the Dogs.
Okay, and here is another, this is funny, it's leading into this. Here's another 28.5 game.
Okay.
Now we have playoff contender,
Go on.
Utah versus Colorado. Yeah,
Utah is one of the best kept secrets in the sport. Kind of
Right.
like Memphis right now. But
Yeah.
nobody really cares, except that Utah is doing it against better competition and more disparaging. Yeah, they had a really stupid loss, kind of like Georgia, at home to a third-string quarterback against a division foe.
Right. Yep.
But USC has turned it
Both
on.
of them USC's, ironically.
They've gotten great. USC has some legit elite-level wide receivers.
Oh, yeah.
Again, and some great cornerbacks. They've got all the things in place. It's a weird one. Like, if USC wins, does Clay Helton get a contract extension? Like, I don't know what you hope for. I don't think so. I don't dislike Clay Helton, but whatever. Utah, on the other hand, is so complete. They are dominant.
Yeah.
I think this one's just a bludgeoning anyway.
Yeah.
What did you say the spread was?
28.5, just like Georgia.
I don't know that they can score that many points because of the nature of them to keep the ball on the ground and run, which, you lose a lot of clock for that reason. But I don't care. Give me the Utes.
Yeah, and then
I'll take it.
The last one, I'm almost remiss about bringing this up, but it is top 10, so I'll go ahead and bring on
Oh, my God. You sound sad.
Penn State, 40.5 point favorite over Rutgers.
Boring.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, that's another thing I have a problem with people saying Power 5 wins, right? There are a lot of bad, and I mean bad, Power 5 teams.
yeah,
There are a lot of good teams, really good teams,
Right.
who aren't in Power 5. And the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference came out and said, whoa, 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 what are y'all doing? We're playing really good football. It doesn't look like you're treating us fairly when you give us your reasons for ranking them. And you know what? It's not disingenuous. And you can say, well, they should play better teams. You can't say that. You can. I get why you would think that, but it's not accurate. The AAC is legitimately competitive. Again, I'll keep this short because I know all of my listeners are sick of hearing me talking about the AAC. Memphis has been competitive long enough, and so is the AAC at large, for us to start really having a serious talk. If we expand to 8, for example, Chad, we have got to do something about that stupid prime number 5. The Power 5 is crap. It's garbage. It makes us think and say stupid things. Yes, Clemson deserves credit for having the most Power 5 conference wins this year and more than anybody else. They deserve credit for that because they're great, not because of how bad those teams are, though. And
Yeah.
let's put it this way. If Clemson played 4 of the best teams from the AAC, it would be an even bigger statement that nobody would want to listen to but me. The AAC is great. I'm happy for them. I was really sincerely happy to see their commissioner come out and publicly say it. I don't like a lot of the things he said, but the overall message was accurate, and we needed to hear it. And yet still, nobody really listened. It was,
yeah.
really, Gray? Memphis? Really?
Hey,
Yes, but
just for
that's
you,
why I have a podcast.
look what I have down here. I was one that gives
you got
me
Cincinnati at Memphis.
Yeah,
Okay.
see?
So
See?
Cincinnati favored?
Cincinnati at Memphis. No, Memphis by 11.
Oh, okay. I was looking at it wrong.
Yeah, sorry,
Thank
that's
you.
all right.
I can't read. So.
Yeah, so I thought that would be one of the last ones we talked about.
Cincinnati's been competitive. When Ohio State trumped them in week 1 or 2 or whatever it was, I said, Ohio State really looks good. And everybody to me said, yeah, but they played Cincinnati, who's nobody. And I'm like, you know what? I won't even get into that conversation.
Right.
But Cincinnati has
But
been
that
great.
is their only loss. Both these teams are 10-1, so they should
a
get
big
more
one.
respect, right? And
Do you know who Memphis lost to? It was Temple. Do you remember how?
They lost to Temple, really?
They lost to Temple on the road in Philly. Basically, this guy makes a catch to convert on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And they're driving down the field with like a minute left. And so as they're setting up for the next, whoa. Let's review that catch. And so you look at it in high def, super slow-mo, and you're like, oh, yeah, he caught it. Moving on. 15 minutes later, ruled incomplete, game over, Temple wins. Now, again, I'm
Wow.
over-exaggerating a little bit, and I'm in
Right.
favor of the Tigers. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But that's how they lost. And I'm not saying Temple's great or anything. I am saying Memphis played a clunker and lost on the road. to a conference
It
title.
happens. Yeah.
And I don't know what we would be saying right now if they were 12-0. I don't. But regardless, this game against Cincinnati in Memphis is going to be fun football that you should care about but probably don't. I care about it. It means a lot. It means everything to this conference.
Oh, yeah,
now,
because the winner of this game is going to go to a New Year's Day 6 game.
among other things.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
then potential
'Cause
rematch
They're
in
the
another
best
week.
of the non-power 5 or whatever is what they go. Because I know that you like that 5, but
Well,
that's
again, it has its problems too, right? Like UConn, this is the AAC, unless they find another team for next year, doesn't have a conference championship game next year because they're losing UConn. UConn is that bad. Guess who UConn plays that next year? Clemson.
Oh, really?
Clemson's schedule for out-of-conference play in 2021, just 2 years, basically less than 2 years, is Wyoming, UConn, and South Carolina. All three of those teams 2 weeks ago lost to Group of 5 schools. South Carolina's not going to a bowl. I don't expect UConn to find a new conference and be competitive all of a sudden at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose their program outright. But Wyoming, sometimes they're fun to watch. I don't think they stand a chance against Clemson. I think it's a problem, too. I wish Clemson had a better game on the schedule. I'm hopeful for Florida State or something like that, maybe Syracuse to come back again. I expect Clemson with DJ Uiagalelei to be sincerely competitive. However, again, I digress.
Right.
UConn doesn't represent the American Athletic. Every conference has bad teams. That's why they're getting kicked out, basically. I know it's not how they're spinning it, but that's what's happening. They're really, really bad. And I celebrate the AAC for having that kind of awareness. I wish we did with the Power 5, in quotes. Power. Give me a
Right,
break.
exactly.
Go ahead, Penn State. Beat Rutgers. Good luck.
Right, exactly. So, the big question is, who are you taking? Is Cincinnati or are you taking Memphis?
You know, I went to school at Cincinnati.
I do.
I'm taking Memphis. I'm taking the Tigers.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Tigers in every game this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
probably
a,
smart.
it's a tall order. Or you said 11 points?
Yeah.
I think it might be close to that. But Memphis has been that good.
they're
Not completely injury-free, but pretty good on that bug. Cincinnati, too. Cincinnati is more prone to run the ball than Memphis, I will say.
Right.
I guess sometimes they haven't been, but again, now I'm talking too much that people don't want to hear about. The Bearcats, I'm happy for them, but go Tigers.
I think, yeah, and just a sidebar, I think Memphis is, yeah, I would agree, Memphis. And I think they're the team that's going to be in the New Year's Day 6. And I'm telling you right now, whichever big Power 5 team they play, they're going to give them fits.
You remember when they beat LSU? I'm sorry, that was UCF, but you remember that?
Yeah. That was good.
We were watching that together at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Yeah, I know.
It was
great.
fun. So that's another thing. I love the bowl games because they're weird matchups. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're great matchups.
I know.
And they're throwaway games. Like, you can get out of it whatever you want. And so if you can watch a game and you don't really care who wins and loses, you can really enjoy it. Or you can be a little crybaby about it and say, who cares about the Papa John's Bowl or the Meineke Car Care Bowl? Like, I do. Deal with it. Go get some wings and sit at home in your underwear.
And it's like I said, I'll go back to this with the bowl games. Some people don't like them. It's 3 more flipping weeks
know.
of football,
Yeah.
okay? If you like football, don't complain about the bowl games because it's football. It's more football for us to enjoy because then there's that sad time, you and I call January.
Yeah, it's the
when
worst.
they're all over and it's, and we're like, so yeah.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yes, exactly.
I'll call you January.
Exactly. So, yeah.
again.
So, the last game we haven't picked that I have down here, Notre Dame is a 16.5-point favorite at Stanford. And let me give you a little back history. This is why I'm a little nervous about this game. Brian Kelly, as good as he's actually been,
Okay.
he has never won at Stanford. Stanford has a 5-game winning streak versus the Irish at home.
He's never won at Stanford.
No. The last time we have won at Stanford was 2007. Yeah.
Golly.
So that's why am I going to pick the Irish? Yes.
Yes.
Am I a little nervous about the game? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And to go one step further, I don't know if we're going to cover that spread just because of that history. And Bryant, like I said, I read something yesterday and they interviewed some guy from like the Stanford reporter or whatever, the guy. And he's like, well, as long as Notre Dame brings a B- effort, they'll beat them. They can pick their score and all that. And that's great to say.
Sure.
As long as the kids don't go and think that way, then maybe they'll cover the spread. Maybe we'll beat them by 3 touchdowns. I'm just a little, I still think we're going to win, but it wouldn't shock me if it's like a 7-point or if it's close in the 4th. I'd be flipping thrilled if I'm wrong. but it's Stanford. And like my lovely wife said last night when I was talking about this game, she's
Hey,
like,
Jamie.
Yeah, hey, Jamie. She was like, yeah, didn't like the last time you guys played at Stanford and then didn't beat you last minute, then you like cry. I said, I did not cry. I said, I almost cried. I said, and she's like, oh, it looked like you were going to cry. I said, it probably was. I said, and they've done that to me like the last, I think, 3 times we went out there to Palo Alto. Like, we were going to win. We were favored.
Right.
You know, we had good things in the postseason, you know, playoffs maybe, big bowl games, and they beat us. And a couple of times it was like last minute they beat us. Like,
yeah.
we scored on them, and then there's 30 seconds left, and the bastards get a field goal or something. They beat us. So I think we're going to win.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm a little nervous about that point spread because
I say we cover. I say Notre Dame wins big. I know it's at Stanford. I know you don't like it. I get it. Stanford has been relatively uncompetitive this season. They started out.
They've
with
had a lot of
whimper.
injuries. Yeah.
They have not really found any identity on either side of the ball. It's been really tough to watch, and that's why nobody's been watching them. You know, don't forget they had guys like Christian McCaffrey there and Andrew Luck, and everybody was paying attention because they looked like they were an elite level competitive team,
right?
Like that might be able to make the playoff. But ever since the playoff started, they haven't really been in that conversation for the most part.
Right.
This year, they're not. Notre Dame, I do sincerely think that this is Brian Kelly's best team that he's had there. I don't think Stanford has a chance. This is Stanford's football season this year in a nutshell. It's been like that all year long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I did read a little backstory because I didn't follow them either. They've had, like, the good players they've had, like, which sucks for any team, even teams I don't like. Like, they've had, like, injuries, like season-end injuries to a bunch of different guys on just different positions, just stuff like that, you're right. And you keep, I think I read they have to keep pulling out the quarterbacks and switching those out this year. And, yeah, it's just, so, I mean, like I said, because it's a rivalry, you know. What we've been talking about all afternoon is it's a rivalry. So I'm a little nervous, but I think we got it. Yeah.
Okay. Is that all the games you want to cover?
That's it.
You want to get out of here?
Yes, sir.
You got anything else you want to say before we go?
Thanks for listening.
Not even a Go Irish?
And Go Irish.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, go Tigers for Jamie and your kid?
Go Tigers.
Tell me real quick about how you handle football with your boy, with James. Because he's got Notre Dame gear and he's got Clemson gear.
Yeah, but
and like, what do you do next year when Clemson travels to South Bend?
Oh,
he's wearing Tigers probably, right? Or is this up to you?
Used to be up to whoever dresses him. Now he's old enough to dress himself. So, but honestly, he doesn't really like football. And if he's in kind of a playful mood, he'll say Go Irish and he'll say Go Tigers kind of deal. And then it's kind of sweet. He just wants us to get along. Because he'll say stuff like that, and it's just like, so it's, you know, but for the most part, kid's 5.5. I mean, he doesn't really care about football, doesn't really care about sports, you know, and most likely he's probably going to end up going to Clemson. I mean, I don't hate Clemson. It's just not my team, but I don't like dislike Clemson at all. It's just, it's just not my team.
I like Clemson. Go Tigers. What's wrong with you? I didn't know that. All right, you're kicked out. I'm done with you. We can't have you on the podcast anymore. Get out of here.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, I like them, so they're just not my team. But
I hear you.
I mean, and heck.
Well, we kind of met in Columbia when you were at school there.
Well, right, exactly. So when Carolina and Clemson play, I usually don't even watch the game with Jamie, just because, I mean, I'm rooting for Carolina. I mean,
we had fun, man, in Columbia too.
Oh yeah, we
went nuts.
5 points. Oh,
group
good
therapy.
Lord. Oh yeah.
I hope a lot of Clemson fans can have a lot of fun down there in Columbia this weekend, spending their $2 bills with the Tiger paws on them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Spend that money, people. Go Tigers.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Chad. Don't forget, y'all, do your iONGreenville.net pick'ems. I don't know if we're doing it through bowl season. I really don't. I don't care. Make sure you do it this week because it's the last week of the regular season. A lot of these teams, this is their last game, like the Gamecocks. I'm not doing great with my pick'ems because they're all against the spread this year, and this year against the spread sucks out loud. But you still have a chance. So go do that. iONGreenville.net. Get the app. Find out where to go and what to do all over the upstate. Also, FET Greenville. Find the Gray Zone in FET Greenville magazine every single week. Go to FETGreenville.com. That's FETE and IMGREY. Find me on Twitter at Color of Gray, GREY. Instagram at Color of Gray Studio. If you want to be on here sometime, give me a shout anytime. I'm always looking to meet new people this way. Also brought to you by GVL Media. We are produced by GVL Media right here at Sit and Spin Studios in downtown Greenville in the West End, right by Velo Fellow, where we're headed to for lunch. We love the Velo Fellow. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody here. I'm really, really stoked to do this. Chad, it's been a real pleasure having you here today. Go Irish.
Go Irish.
Go
Roll Tide.
Tigers. Roll Tide, brother. Didn't it fit? You made you smile.
Yeah, see, there you go.
All right, brother. Roll Tide. Beat the hell out of Auburn. Beat the hell out of the Gamecocks. Make them cry. I don't care.
Beat the Cardinal.
Beat the Cardinal. That's right, baby. All right, thanks, Chad. I owe you one. See ya.
Anytime.
Not red, not blue, not white, not green, just gray. Just gray.